Hi there, my name's Peyton West. I'm the assistant winemaker for Isabel Meunier and Lavinia Wines, and I am here today with a very awesome couple of people, Wynn Peterson-Nedry and Harry Peterson-Nedry. And
same last name.
Same last name. It's a little father and daughter duo, and they're the owners and winemakers. Harry's the founder, and Wynn is now taking care of most of the operations and winemaking side for Ridgecrest Vineyards. And how are you guys doing today?
Good, good. How are you?
Doing well. It's kind of crazy times and a little bit weird, but today we're going to try 3 of your wines that you have in the upcoming spring release shipment for the Studio Wine Club. We have the 2018 Pinot Noir Rosé, which we're going to try first, and then we have the 2018 Ridgecrest Pinot Noir, and then of course a little bit of a step outside of that land into Walla Walla with the 2017 Syrah. So let's go ahead and start with the rosé. I'm really interested as we taste this to talk about the history of Ridgecrest and also more importantly your site. It's a very historical vineyard up in Ribbon Ridge, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Harry, do you want to take care of that?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Usually it's historical stuff that the gray hair at least allows me to talk about. One of the things that I want to find out is how in the heck you guys got all of the good stuff to put into this package. I mean, we're starting with the rosé, and it does come from top-notch Pinot Noir fruit from Ridgecrest Vineyards, specifically from the Wind Ridge block, which is contiguous but a little bit further south on Ribbon Ridge Road than the top of the hill, which is where Ridgecrest is.
Gotcha.
We have had operations there for quite a while. As a matter of fact, this year is the 40th year of operations on Ribbon Ridge with what we began in 1980. We began planting in 82. Our oldest blocks are still thriving. Last year we had the 35th harvest off of the original fruit. So
that's crazy.
Age on it. Usually nice and age don't come out of my mouth at the same time. So
you should get used to doing that more often, though.
Yeah, well, I'll start thinking. So that'll help.
Just like you, Harry, nice and aged.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. So that's rosé in your glass, and this is my rosé.
Okay. Anyone that I know of in the valley that gets fruit from you feels extremely fortunate and lucky. I know I would. I mean, you did offer me Pinot Gris before this phone call started. I should have had that on recording, but I didn't. I should have. This rosé is extremely beautiful, pretty. It's got the 3 C's. When I think of rosé, I think of 3 C's. I think of clean, fresh, and color, and it's got all 3 of them. It's really bright, great acid, floral. I really like it.
How does fresh come?
Does fresh start with a C?
Crisp. Sorry.
Crisp.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
I said fresh. You're supposed to have dementia, not me. I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry. Crisp, clean, color.
Yep.
Mel, can you please edit that out? Thank you.
So I'll give a little background on the winemaking behind the rosé. It's obviously nothing too dramatically different than the way most rosés are made. This one is directly pressed whole clusters of Pinot Noir. So we're doing this intentionally as rosé. It's not a saignée, which is like a bleeding off red wine tank. It's just whole cluster pressed and then put into neutral oak barrels for about for its entire fermentation, and then it ages until about February. So maybe 6 months total in barrel. And then no malolactic fermentation happens, so it's nice and clean, crisp, and it's got that color. So up and meant to be kind of on the more savory side. So one of those big fruit bombs. It doesn't have any residual sugar, so it's more on the dry, herbal driven, floral, that kind of style instead.
Yeah, I love it, and I like that it, like you said, it has a lot of depth for rosé too. You know, it's not, it could go really well with food. It's not just a big, you know, fruity rosé. It's got a lot of character and depth to it. Nice work. I think it's great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
One of the things that allows it to go with food exceptionally well is the fact that the fruit from Ribbon Ridge, no matter how ripe the year, carries a lot of acid, or at least the perception of a nice bright edge.
Right.
So it pairs very well with foods.
Yeah.
It definitely is not a fruit bomb.
I'm going to move on to the 2018 Pinot Noir from Ridgecrest.
Great.
I love the labels, by the way. What's the concept behind that?
I can speak a little bit to this. Yeah, I've got the same wine. All of these are meant to be from the place of origin of the fruit. So this is actually a sketch of Ribbon Ridge, of our Ridgecrest vineyards. Harry has always been a bit of an artist, an art fan, but also behind the scenes doing his own art. And some of my favorite has always been the pen and inks that he does. I have maybe a dozen of them around my house. And so when we came up with a concept for the first vintage of Ridgecrest, which is this 2018, by the way,
Yeah.
I nicely persuaded him to let us use his artwork.
Nice.
I think it's so striking, and it also evokes a sense of place. So
Yeah, I agree.
I might mention that convinced means that she is majority owner of the RR and Ridgecrest brands. So she forced me into it. She
You had no say in it.
I didn't force you. If you had had a better idea, we would have used it, but you didn't. So
I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was the right decision.
thanks.
I
Me
would
too.
I would have forced you into it for sure. I think it's the only way to go.
Sometimes children have persuasion power.
And that will get us at the Wind Ridge block on
Yes.
Ribbon Ridge will get us Chenin Blanc in another 2 or 3 years.
Cool. So I think that, I mean, I love this. It's very, the nose is very aromatically representative of Ribbon Ridge to me. It's red fruited, but also blue fruited at the same time. So I think that the red raspberry characteristic is something I look for, but then there's these blue notes of blueberries and other kind of darker characteristics that I like about Ribbon Ridge. And then speaking to the age of your vines, there's soil in it. I mean, you can smell a sense of place. The fruit is there, but it also has a part of the vineyard, which I only find in sites that are old or well established, which obviously this is. So I really, really like it aromatically. Do you guys think that, I mean, what have you noticed from the wines that you've made as your vineyard has evolved over the years, and your practices too, but what have you noticed as your age continues?
The aging to me gives practical sides and finesseful sides. The practical side is that no matter what the weather that we're experiencing in a specific year, older vines basically hedge any of the weather bets that are going on.
Yeah.
It's very robust against weather swings, whether it's dryness or wetness. You've got deep roots. We value that. And there is nuance to the fruit that comes off of there.
Yeah.
A lot of spice. It's always been a range of red to black fruited.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on the vintage, some of the more purple notes that you're talking about, the huckleberry rather than
huckleberry.
I can always pick out a Ribbon Ridge Pinot Noir based on its palate too. On this one, I find it extremely juicy. So that acid driven, the fresh fruit rather than kind of baked fruit most of the time. So this would be like fresh blackberries in the middle of summer, but also a brightness to it. So the texture is also pretty lengthy. So as you said, kind of some soil aspect to it, not just minerality, but also kind of that dry black tea leaf.
Yeah, totally.
So I always get that spice to that leafiness in a good way, like in a dried herbal way.
Yeah.
Like tea.
Yeah, like not in a green way at all. Yeah, very much like a dried leaf, dusty character. Totally. And now, after you said that, Harry, all I can think about is huckleberries. You're totally right. It is. Because there's a freshness and there's an acid-driven bite behind a huckleberry, and this is totally like, that's very much like, it's like you helped make the wine or something. I mean, like, it's very, very good description. Yeah.
Plus what you brought out, the dustiness. The dustiness to me, I've always characterized the fruit from there as being dusty blackberry. Somebody's just driven by the road and it's gotten on the blackberries.
Yeah.
The height of blackberry season.
Yeah.
That's the flavors or sensations you get off of it. As Wynn said, a lot of it's textural.
Right.
Whether it's minerality or whether it's earth. There's something that definitely characterizes fruit from Ribbon Ridge in general.
Yeah.
And specifically from the top of the hill.
Yeah.
That's pretty consistent when we go through different vintages too. I've had years as far back as, when we started making wine, so late 80s, early 90s, that continue to have that thread even as they age. So this is still there, that bright acid, the tannin. So those are all the things that are really important for aging wine long term as well. So
yeah,
things that we value the most up there.
Yeah, for sure. And I was fortunate enough to get to try some of your older vintages, Harry, that you guys brought in. It was like a 2001. And yeah, I mean, you brought in some really old vintages.
94, I think we brought in.
I think there was a 93 also.
Yeah. I mean, they still had a lot of acid. I mean, the preservation of that backbone for the skeleton of the wine, if you will, was very, very awesome to see. And seeing it then and then trying this now, I mean, you can see those elements that define that place that make it ageable for as long as it was, which is awesome. Do you guys have any I have to think about how I want to ask this question, but do you have any fun cellar stories between the two of you at working together?
Well, we've never really had any fights in the cellar.
That's good.
No, that's good.
Which can't say that about one or two other people I've worked with. Come on, Cheryl. Come on, Michael.
I'd love to see this. I don't know. I would say the most interesting thing to me is that we always kind of seem to agree, which is fairly unusual in itself.
Yeah.
We don't agree on many other things, so why would we agree on winemaking or what we're getting out of a wine? But we
You mean like label choices? Yeah, I think it's really strange that we actually do have a very similar palate as far as winemaking is concerned. And maybe it's not that unusual because there's that genetic connection, but the fact that we prefer the same kinds of wines, and yes, I was brought up on high acid Rieslings and Oregon Pinot Noirs, especially from Ribbon Ridge, so maybe that helps as well. But I think the most unique thing is that there isn't anything remarkably different between us. Yeah. We both chose Riesling as our #1 white grape. That's why we've got it on the Ribbon Ridge side, on the RR side, as our high-end white, alongside our high-end Pinot over there. And we like the same high-acid reds like Gamay, Syrah made in a more delicate style, which maybe brings us into our next step in our conversation today. But experimentation also. I think we've always liked experimenting in the cellar and doing things that are maybe a little bit outside the lines. What would
some of those things be?
Just playing around with a few things and not being afraid to try something in a small scale before we do it on a major scale. I mean, precision is always a key thing for us because we're both chemists by nature, but also knowing that the only way to drive real innovation is to try new things.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. That does bring us to the Syrah, like you said, which is the 2017 Walla Walla Washington Syrah.
Yep. So that's kind of a little spin-off on the RR label, which is, it actually has a bottle down below with the double R standing for Ribbon Ridge Winery. That one is the Walla Walla sourced fruit. So 2017 Walla Walla Syrah is the first Syrah that we made. We did it as a little, one of the experimental things, a little fruit trade with a friend of ours up in Walla Walla. So he was looking for some Ribbon Ridge fruit. We thought it would be fun to bring in some Walla Walla Syrah, and so we did a couple ton trades, so 2 tons each, back and forth. So we brought in 2 tons of Syrah in 2017. It was about 30% to 40% whole cluster.
Okay.
And then fermented to dryness, put into 2 different puncheons, which are 500-liter barrels, and then aged there for about 20 months. So we just bottled it up last summer, so almost 2 years after it was picked. And then I like to think that it's made in a style that a Pinot Noir winemaker would make a Syrah. So a little bit more elegant, a little bit more delicate on the tannin extraction. Definitely a fun complement to a mostly Pinot Noir portfolio in the Willamette Valley.
Definitely. Go ahead, Harry.
And you had mentioned earlier that to your comment, this is a Syrah that a Pinot Noir maker might make who was attuned to a certain style. I think you also mentioned that in talking to Josh, he considered his a version of Pinot Noir that a Syrah maker would make, which was the nice counterpoint that you would expect.
Yeah.
Nicely done, both of you. And this continues, this is a 17 that's in the package, but it continues in 18 and 19, so more Syrah down the road.
Yes, and I've tried the 18 and the 19 with Win, and they're awesome. I'm very excited for them to be released too. So we were talking briefly about this before the call started. I think it's very easy to make rip your face off Syrah from Walla Walla. And I like that, and it has its place, but I really, really prefer this because it's elegant and bold at the same time, and it grows on your palate the longer it's there, opposed to just hitting super hard and just destroying any kind of palate that you have until you just get obsessed with the wine. So I think that this is a nice way to grow your interest. Like it just keeps going. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And each time you finish the book, you just want to read it again. Like I think that's how all wine should be. But I admire the way you did it with a Syrah because it's hard to do, I think, to do that. And so nice work. I really enjoy it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like about it is I don't eat a whole lot of red meat, and I want most of the wines that I make to be food friendly for my table because guess what? If we don't sell it all, then I get to take it home. So if I'm gonna have duck or chicken or salmon,
right,
I want this to not just overpower it. I want that acid to be friendly, and I want the texture to be something that can play with a lot of different things instead of having to stand on its own or have something heavier with it.
Totally. And this has its own like meaty charcuterie board kind of characteristic that I expect from Syrah that plays well with the fruit and the acid. Do you guys, I'll ask another, I know you're probably like, stop asking us questions about.
Well, are we supposed to be drinking?
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking. Oh,
absolutely. You can drink as much as you want. Yeah.
Thanks.
I expect for the bottle to be gone by the time it's over, and that we have about 5 minutes, so you better catch up.
That's a good thing about doing these interviews from home. Nobody's going anywhere.
No one's going anywhere. Yeah. Do you have to drive away from work? No, I don't think so. Yeah. Have you guys, can you list like one thing that you've learned from each other over the years making wine together? And then that'll be the last daughter-father question I ask, I promise.
I probably learned most of my experience through osmosis. I mean, I grew up with having a winery in our garage, so I think I just picked up a lot of things that maybe I didn't even realize I picked up.
She also has tried to drive home the fact that dad jokes are not good, as opposed to my perception of dad jokes being the ultimate in comedy.
Dad and bad are one letter away from each other.
Ooh, that's a good dad joke, actually.
Well, you can climb that ladder and get somewhere then.
Do you have a dad joke on hand by chance? A good dad joke?
There are no good dad jokes.
You have a bad one?
It has to be impromptu, unfortunately.
Damn. I'll remember that at the winery the next time I see you, whenever you come in, since Wynn does most of the work. But whenever you drive
hopefully all of the work.
Yeah.
Don't leave anything for me.
I don't know. I really enjoy seeing you guys taste in the cellar together when you show up, when you're not on vacation. Another thing.
When I show up.
Sorry, it's the last one. I promise.
I mean, that 2018 vintage, you were in Europe for like 4 weeks, which is
yeah.
You got to enjoy that.
And she was,
but I waited to leave for Europe until
I picked fruit.
Harvest was almost over. No? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the vintage of her screaming your name the entire time. This is ridiculous.
I can see you guys are kind of teamed up against me then.
Yeah. Well, you notice on the screen it's 2v1, right? No. I really like watching you guys taste together in the cellar, seriously. And I think that having two people make a balanced and continuing version of a wine is a hard thing to do. And I think that having continuity the way you guys do with your product and the passion you both have for it is extremely impressive, and I admire it, and I love your wines. I always have. I've been a huge geek of your products for 20 years, which is longer than I've been allowed to drink. So I'm a big fan, and I love your products. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah. And stay safe and healthy and happy, and we'll hopefully see you at the winery relatively soon.
Yeah, I can't wait till we can all actually taste in the same room together.
Yeah, that's right. No more distancing.
No more distancing. It's just going to be hugs all day long.
Oh.
That could get old too fast.
All right, guys.
Especially if they're bad jokes to go along with.
I want the jokes. I swear. I want the jokes. All right.
Well, we haven't sworn at all in this.
I know. Well, do you want to do it?
No,
Yeah.
no, we're giving you an easy.
All right. On that note, we're out. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.